Do you get a pit in your stomach when you get that bill after a 7-day cruise and realize you spent hundreds of dollars on things you might never use or didn't really enjoy that much? I'm going to give you 9 cruise things that are a total waste of money, including 2 items that save me big every time I cruise, and 1 thing that a friend of mine wasted hundreds of dollars on his last cruise. I'm Gary with Optimal Cruising, bringing you fresh cruise advice, money-saving hacks, and secret strategies the cruise lines don't advertise. I used to purchase drink packages for cruises. It's kind of nice getting on a cruise, feeling like you have an all-inclusive experience. You can go to the bar, order your drinks at the pool deck, not even have to worry about how much money you're spending. But I realized shortly that it is usually a huge waste of money, and here's why. The break-even point on these drink packages is very high. Typically, you have to consume at least 7 or 8 alcoholic drinks per day to just get your money's worth out of that drink package. And that's assuming that you're buying those drinks at the full cruise line price. But once you get on the cruise, you realize that they offer specials from time to time. They'll have a daily drink special. They'll have a happy hour. Some cruise lines will have 2-for-1 days. If you already bought the drink package, then those deals don't apply to you. But if you factor that in, you'd have to consume even more to make it worth it. The other problem is that if you purchase the drink package and you're traveling with another adult, they will have to purchase it as well. And in my experience, when couples travel together, they don't both usually drink at the same amounts. So one might be more of a drinker and one might be less of a drinker. So you might get value for one person's package, but probably not both, and that makes the overall cost a ripoff. But there are a couple hacks you can use if you do go for the drink package to make sure you get the full value out of it. One of those is skip the bars at ports of call. Ports of call are loaded with bars trying to get tourists in there to get fancy drinks and order some hors d'oeuvres. If you just get back to the ship to get your drinks, you'll be taking more advantage of that drink package and getting more value out of it. And then take full advantage of the package. Drink packages include energy drinks, soda, bottles of water, could be sparkling or still, sometimes smoothies, specialty coffees. All these things that are included in the package, take full advantage of all of them. If you start adding all that up, it might just make it worth it for some people. In my experience, it's not as easy to get upgraded cabins for free anymore. That being said, I did get 2 balcony cabin upgrades for free from MSC last year, but most major cruise lines are not really going this route anymore. Instead, they're trying to get you to pay or bid for an upgrade before you actually get on your cruise. A lot of these upgrades are just not worth paying for. You really have to look into what you're getting and if it's worth that extra money. And this next one gets my wife every time. One thing my wife really enjoys about going on a cruise is doing something in the spa. Sometimes she'll get a massage, sometimes a facial, it really just depends, but she'll always do something. However, she really hates the fact that they constantly try to upsell her hundreds of dollars in products that she probably could get at Walmart for a quarter of the price. What my wife has learned to do is get her massages at ports of call, because a lot of these ports of call, especially ones in Mexico, you can get a very cheap massage on the beach and it's a full massage and they're not trying to upsell you anything extra. Skip the upsells, skip the packages. Instead, if you want to enjoy the spa, get a thermal pass. Most major cruise lines with thermal spa areas will have a pass. You can buy it for the day. Some of them you can buy for the whole week or the entire length of the cruise, and that'll give you access to the entire thermal area. That's the sauna, the steam rooms, the snow rooms if they have one. There'll be whirlpools and hot tubs in there that are private, not accessible by the general population on the ship, so it's a lot less crowded and you can go there pretty much whenever you want if you have the pass. Which leads me to my next item, which I refuse to waste money on, except for one exception. When I first started cruising, I always booked my shore excursions directly with the cruise line because I didn't want to miss the ship. Isn't that what everybody tells you? But it's so wrong. Now I absolutely refuse to waste money on these things. That doesn't mean I don't do shore excursions. I do them all the time, but I don't waste the money by paying the huge markup to the cruise line itself. Cruise lines are trying to sell you on fear that you're going to miss your ship. But I'm not aware of anybody who's missed their ship when booking a private excursion with a reputable company. And that's what I always do. I use Viator or I use Shore Excursions Group. I've got links to both of them in my description below. If you really want that guarantee, Shore Excursions Group will give it to you. Still, you have to check out your excursions. When you're booking through these third parties, look at the reviews. All of them have hundreds of reviews. Some are really good, some not so good, so you know what to book and what to avoid. When you book directly with the cruise line, you really don't know what you're getting. Most likely, you're going to be herded like cattle. You're going to be put on a bus with like 60 other people doing the same excursion, and everywhere you go is going to be packed with these same people. I don't like being herded like cattle, and these third-party excursion companies are much smaller groups. Every time I do one, I'm with like 6 or 10 people, not 60 people. Another alternative I'll do all the time is just plan my own. With the internet these days and a little planning, you can kind of figure out exactly what it's going to cost to do what you want to do on your own, and it's probably going to be a whole lot cheaper than if you book the excursion. And a whole lot more fun, because when you do something on your own, you can deviate. You can get off of the itinerary. You're not stuck where the leader is taking you. One exception where I still will book directly with the cruise line is at a tender port, like in the Cayman Islands or Belize. There are others, but at these ports, the ship cannot dock directly on the island. You have to get on a boat, and that smaller boat will take you to the island. Well, the advantage of booking a shore excursion in these instances is that a lot of the excursions will have their own excursion boat come pick you up from your ship and take you directly to that excursion. No need to be shuttling back and forth on the tender to and from another dock and then finding your excursion. In those cases, it's a whole lot more convenient. So for me, it's really just a convenience factor, and I'm willing to pay a little extra in those instances. Next, I'm going to tell you how a friend of mine wasted hundreds of dollars on his last cruise. But first, have you ever tried booking an excursion independently or planning it on your own? Let me know your experience in the comments below. I'm very curious to see how you do excursions. I just heard from a friend of mine a couple of weeks ago that on his last cruise, he wasted almost $300 purchasing a photo package. Now, he and his wife were supposed to get about 100 photos that were professional quality from this package. But during their cruise, they weren't really focused on finding all the photo spots all the time. So they didn't end up with enough shots to really get 100 photos. And then when they got their photos and got to look at them at the end of the cruise, a lot of them were off-center or even a little blurry. They said it was totally a waste of money. These days, with cell phone cameras in your pockets, I never buy a photo package. In fact, if I need a photo, there's always another friendly cruiser out there willing to take it of me or me and my wife. If you really want to get professional photos from your cruise and you're going to dress up for these theme nights and get all elegant, that's great. But my advice is don't buy the package. Let them take the pictures. They will take all the pictures you want for free. Then you can go and review what they look like, and you can buy 1 or 2 photos piece by piece. It's more expensive than buying a package that way, but you'll get something that you really want, and it will be good quality because you get to preview it before you pay. This next item could be a waste of money, but I got a hack that makes it worth it for me. I was on a cruise not too long ago, and I went to the casino for a little bit, and when I came back to the room, my wife was sitting out on the balcony eating a Caesar salad. "Where'd you get that Caesar salad?" I asked. "Well, she ordered room service." "Well, that Caesar salad costs $12.95 because room service fees are crazy these days. You used to be able to order room service on a cruise ship with no fee, but these days all major cruise lines are charging between $8, $12, even $15 in a service charge every time you order room service. And when you look at the room service menu, is it really worth paying a service charge for a burger, a fry, a salad, maybe pizza, depending on the cruise line? The menu is rather limited, right? But it doesn't have to be. I found out that on most cruise lines, you can call up room service and order anything that's on the menu at one of the free dining rooms. So I always look at that. If I see something really good on the main dining room menu and I just feel like staying in, eating in my room that night, I don't have to stick with the limited room service menu. I can call them up and ask for that steak or that fish or whatever I want that's offered in the free dining room, and they will bring that for the same service charge that I would pay for whatever's on the room service menu. That's a hack you can use to avoid wasting money on room service. And there's another outrageous fee which I'll end up paying for on some ships, but not others. These days we live in a really connected world, and even when I go on a cruise, I feel like I need to stay connected to the internet and stay on top of things and even do a little work here or there. Maybe that's a little bit of an addiction coming out of me, but I still like to do it. However, the fees for internet these days are crazy high on cruise lines. So if you're gonna need Wi-Fi when you're on the cruise, book the package ahead of time. That's one hack that will save you big money, because if you get on the ship and then start buying it, you're going to pay at least 40 to 50% more. And while I will buy Wi-Fi on the newer ships, the ships that have the Starlink system, because it's good enough to handle streaming and all kinds of things that I would want to do, I'll never pay for those packages on older ships that have not been upgraded yet to Starlink. And then sometimes there are a few things I will buy when I'm on a cruise ship, and others that I'll never waste the money on. I'll tell you about that next. But first, I would ask if you take a moment and subscribe to our channel, hit the like button. It helps us grow, and it'll bring you all of our cruising updates. I've heard some people say that duty-free shopping is a scam. And I can tell you from personal experience, sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not. So when you're doing shopping on board the cruise ship, it's all duty-free, no taxes. So people think they're getting a great deal, but that's not usually the case, especially if you're buying high-end items like watches, jewelry, designer bags. You need to really check those prices on land in order to know if you're getting a great deal. Because a lot of these items are marked up so much on the cruise line that even though you're not paying taxes on them, if you went back home and bought the same thing and paid the tax on top of it, you'd be getting a better deal. But if you're like me and sometimes you like a good bottle of whiskey, then you kind of know the price range for the brands that you like. And when you go into the duty-free shop on the cruise ship, you can sometimes find some great deals on alcohol, especially toward the end of your cruise. Sometimes they'll be great 2-for sales, where instead of just buying one, you get 2, but there's a huge discount. Plus, you're not paying the taxes on it. I have actually found that these are some of the better deals offered on board. Also, people tell me that cigarettes are pretty good deals on board. And now this last item involves 2 things I always bring on board so I don't waste my money. For the longest time now, every time I cruise, I always bring with me a tumbler or a water bottle where I fill up my water or juice or anything that is free on that cruise throughout the entire cruise. I always have what I want to drink, and I can carry it with me anywhere in the ship, to my room, to the pool deck, and I'm not spending money buying bottled water or juice or anything during the cruise. I just stick to what I'm getting for free. If you don't bring your own water bottle or tumbler with you, you usually end up buying bottles of water or other things to drink because it's kind of hard to carry a glass around you everywhere you go, and you'll be somewhere and you'll want to drink and you don't have it. And speaking of taking advantage of the freebies, I always bring a bunch of Ziploc bags with me on my cruise so that I can take food with me from the buffet or even from the main dining room. And here's why. These days, cruise lines are really cutting back on food. I mean, back in the old days, we used to always have a midnight buffet. There'd be plenty of opportunities to get food any time of the day. Now, more and more venues have shorter hours. They're closing at times when you might want a snack or you might want a cookie late at night. Put it in a Ziploc bag. Bring it back to your room. You can save it for later. And you can use these bags to take food off the ship with you at most ports of call. This will save you from wasting money buying snacks and other food items while you're enjoying your port day. You can just use the free food provided by the cruise ship. So now that you won't be wasting money on your next cruise, there are a few things that cruisers miss on embarkation day that gets their cruise off to a bad start. I'll tell you how to avoid doing that right here.